Hi everybody and welcome to David's Garage. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has been watching, everyone who's subscribed. If you guys have any boot recommendations or if you guys picked up any new boots, let me know what you guys picked up down in the comments below. So today I'm going to be doing my 1 month review of my Coyote Rough Out boots on the 79 last from Truman Boots. So I have probably worn these longer than a month. I mainly wore these during the December, January months just because I really wanted to test out this leather in snow. I posted some shorts on it and this leather has actually done a really good job in snow. But I wore these boots for work and I wore these boots casually. This is going to be my 1 month update, but I've probably worn these for a month and a half in terms of actual wear for my rotation. This leather is from the Seidel Tanning Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is called Coyote Rough Out, and on Truman's website they describe this leather as a military spec leather that's very weather resistant, which is why I bought these to really beat up for work, even though honestly I did try to avoid getting mud on them just because I didn't want the mud to stain the leather, the rough out. But I know I shouldn't baby them. This is definitely a high quality, extremely durable leather. I'm not going to knock it because I think this has held up extremely well, especially in the winter months. Yeah, that's just one decision I made, but still I think that this leather has really taken a beating well, and it still looks like I really didn't put much wear on it at all. But like I said, I wore these for work and for casual days off. Looks like this leather is just about 2.6 millimeters thick. Yeah, that's a really thick leather. That's definitely rivaling some of Seidel's work leathers. So when I got these boots, the leather was extremely stiff, and you could see the tongue leather is the same leather as the uppers. So I was really worried and concerned that it was gonna, be pretty rough to break in these boots. But the truth is, honestly, after maybe a week or two, these boots felt extremely comfortable. I think I really like rough out boots because having the smooth side on the inside of the boot just makes it easier putting it on and taking it off. But honestly, these boots are comfortable to wear. So for overall care for this leather, because it's a rough out, some people will put a layer of wax on their rough out to protect it from the weather, to protect it from getting dirt or fine particles stuck or embedded into the fibers of the rough out. But for me, what I'm just gonna do to take care of this leather is I'll spray it with leather protector, and then whenever I get dirt or if I get mud on it, I'll just brush it. I'll use a stiff bristle brush, or I'll use a wire brush to just brush out the dirt. I don't think I would ever need to use a soap or saddle soap on it. I know that sometimes it's advised to not use saddle soap on rough out leathers because the saddle soap will get embedded into the rough out, and that's not good to have saddle soap embedded into your leather. It could dry it out. But for me, like I said, I'm just gonna, if I get dirt on it, or I'll probably brush it with a stiff bristle brush, with a wire brush, and then I'll spray leather protector on it. I don't think I would condition it. Maybe in a few years, if it looks extremely dry, maybe I'll put some Bic 4 on there, or maybe some Venetian shoe cream, but I'm not going to put a thick layer of wax to flatten this nap, because I do like the texture and the nap of the rough out. I don't want to ruin that. You can see the stitching is actually still really nice. Haven't had any loose stitches come out, or I haven't had any stitches come loose. The welt stitching still looks good. Though I will say, I don't know if it was the salt or just because I don't think I walked in a lot of salt, or because for the winter time in the Midwest, a lot of businesses will put salt on the sidewalk, but I did walk in a lot of snow, and I think that's why the welt looks a little dried out. I did put mink oil on the welt to try and hydrate it a little bit, but you can see it's still looking pretty dry. I don't know if that's from the salt, but like I said, I didn't walk in salt. I walked in a lot of snow. Not a big deal, I'm not too concerned. If you guys know more about this, let me know, you know, what you guys do or what your advice is down in the comments below. I'd appreciate it. All right, so this boot is on the Commando lug sole. And yeah, actually, it still looks like it's in really good condition. I mean, it looks like I barely even wore these boots, but I swear, I did wear these boots for at least over a month. But you can see, maybe from walking in all that snow, it just kept this lug sole really nice and clean looking. Let's take a look at the other boot. Yeah. Oh, you can see, oh look. The rubber is actually cracking on this boot. I wonder what, I must have stepped on some sharp rocks, but you can see the rubber right there. It's cracking and, you know, gouged a little bit. You can see it's also gouged a little bit right there. Yeah, this boot looks a lot more worn than the other boot, but yeah, you can still see it looks really clean. But I really like this sole. Like I've said it again, but Commando lug soles, they're my favorite sole just because of their versatility. It looks kind of clean on the side because it's not too, you know, heavy or too thick and chunky looking, but still, I really like a thick, chunky lug sole just because I like having a sturdy grip when I'm walking on a lot of uneven terrain, a lot of rocks and dirt. So I like this sole a lot. All right, so now we're gonna talk about the comfort. So these boots are built on Truman's 79 last, and I get a 10D in the 79 last, just like I get in my Iron Rangers, just like I get in Parkhurst. And this last, I actually really like this last. I think it's got a really nice, cool look to it. It's kind of on the sleeker side, but still is, you know, kind of chunky and roomy. So I do like this last. For me, my toes, they don't feel cramped. The toe box does feel roomy for me. And the waist, though, it doesn't hug my waist or my heel as nicely as the 20 last. So it's definitely on the, it's got a little bit of room on the waist and the heel, not as tight or as firm of a grip on my heel and my waist as the 20 last. It feels like it fits perfectly, very similar to my Iron Rangers. But I know the Iron Ranger actually is a little bit slimmer in the waist, but overall, for me at least, it fits very similarly. So there is one thing that I had an issue with, okay? And I want to show you guys the leather lining in the toe vamp for this right boot. Whoever stitched it did not do a good job. Basically, when I put these boots on, I really didn't notice it, but then the first couple of times I wore these boots, I felt like something like right here where the lining is, I felt like there was like a rope pressing on my instep, like there was a rope there. You know, almost like I said, it didn't feel right, didn't feel comfortable. It was putting pressure on my instep. So after I wore them a couple of times and I felt that, I took some photos and I looked inside and I saw the lining on the toe vamp for this boot, it looked normal. For the left boot, it looked normal. But for this right boot where I was getting the pressure, the lining on the toe box, for some reason, whoever stitched it, it was all bunched up and squished here. So whoever sewed the lining to the toe box or like stitched the tongue to this panel, this toe vamp panel, whoever did that just did a really terrible job. It was all squished and bunched up and ugly looking. And so the lining on this left boot looked nice and clean. It didn't cause any discomfort. I didn't really notice anything on the left boot, felt fine. But because whoever did the stitching of this tongue or the lining to this toe vamp right here, did it, like, I don't know, maybe it was the machine's fault or the person's fault, but it was all bunched up and squished. And so there was this really thick edge right here to the lining. It just pressed on my instep and it felt like there was like a rope or like a line just going into my instep. So what I had to do is I contacted Truman and they did offer me to send the boots back so they can repair them. I honestly don't know how you would repair that. You would have to basically take the whole boot apart and relast it. I mean, you might as well just build a new boot at that point. But I didn't send them back to Truman instead because I really like these boots and I wanted to wear them. What I did was I got a I got one of those cedar shoe trees with that metal like bend that, you know, and I just pushed it. I pushed it as far forward into the boot as I could to try and either stretch it out or flatten that line, that stitching. I just pushed that cedar shoe tree as far forward as I can. So I left the cedar shoe tree there for a week to try and stretch this part out, flatten out that bunching of stitching. And yeah, when I put on the boots now, I don't feel it. It feels fine. So that's what I did. It fixed the issue. I think I may feel it just barely, but it's gone. There's no issue anymore. So that resolved the issue. It's just one thing that I noticed. I guess it wasn't too big of a deal, but honestly, I would say for most people, if you're gonna spend this amount of money on a boot and you're gonna have that discomfort, especially if you have a higher instep like me, it's gonna be extremely uncomfortable. I went on Reddit and I searched the Truman Reddits to see if anybody else had an issue like that. And I did see, I think, one other post within the last year where somebody did have the exact same issue. But looks like I'm not the only one who had this issue. Yeah, I've heard stories about Truman's quality control. This was my first experience with getting bad quality control. And the thing is, when they're putting this boot together, especially when you're sewing the panels together, it's extremely obvious. It would have been extremely obvious to the person putting this boot together to see, oh, that doesn't look right, that looks ugly, it's all smushed, the stitching is crap. But they probably thought, okay, well, since it's gonna be inside the boot, no one's gonna see it. But they probably, I don't know, maybe they either didn't care or they didn't know, like, yeah, this is gonna cause discomfort by pressing on the person's instep, whoever wears the boot. But that was just my experience. I just wanted to let you guys know about it. Luckily, though, I can wear these boots now with no issue, so I'm happy about that. So Truman boots, I think they are extremely well built. You know, they are 270-degree Goodyear welted boots. I really like this sole. The stitching is top notch. The hardware, these speed hooks and this hardware is very high quality. Truman does not skimp on the materials. I believe they have cork filling. They have a fiberglass shank. This leather is awesome. I really love this leather. It's got a really nice color to it. I think when I wore these boots in the wintertime and I was walking in, you know, extremely deep snow, my foot stayed dry. The inside of the boot did not get wet at all. So this leather is extremely weather resistant. So it really held up well to walking in extremely wet and snowy conditions. So I am really happy with these boots. Some of the cons though, it's on the stiffer side, it's on the thicker side. Another downside is that issue with the stitching on the toe vamp lining for the right boot. Yeah, I just have to be honest about my experience and let you guys know about these things. I wish Truman would have caught that and would not have sent me a boot like that. Let's see, is there anything I would change about this boot? So, Truman boots, I believe they are not 6-inch boots. They are actually a little bit shorter than 6-inch boots. So from the very top to the very bottom of the heel, this boot is just about 6 3/4 of an inch. If we do from the very top to the top of the midsole, this boot is almost 5.5 inches tall. Just over 5.5 inches tall. All right, but let's measure from the inside of the boot. So from the inside of the boot, let's see, this boot is just under 5.5 inches, maybe 5 1/4. The only thing that I think I would change on these boots is I wish they were a little bit taller. I do very much appreciate that these are gusseted up until the 4th eyelet. That's actually higher than Truman gussets on their Upland boots, because my Upland boot when Java Wax Flesh is only gusseted up until the 3rd eyelet. So I do like that these are gusseted up just a little bit higher. The only thing that I wish I would change is, like I said, I would wish these were a little bit taller, but otherwise I would not change anything else. I really like these boots. I would definitely buy these again. I really like this leather from Seidel. I think it's a really cool leather. But yeah, that's my 1 month review of these Truman boots in Seidel's Coyote Rough Out leather on the 79 last. So I do really appreciate you guys watching. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys have this leather, or if you have the dark Coyote Rough Out leather, you know, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Again, I do appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you on the next video.